2681. Hunt and Hill. Hunt Palmer, Jeremy Hill, holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. It's Hunt and Hill. Now on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome in, Hunt and Hill on a Tuesday from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city. I am Hunt Palmer. He is Hill, Jeremy Hill. Alonzo Villarreal and Taylor Sharp back there on the ones and twos. Mr. Hill, how are we on a Tuesday?
I'm doing great. My man Joey B, probably in a cold tub today. I don't know how hot he's doing, but that's another conversation.
That's a whole segment at the end of this hour. I've entitled the segment on the sheet, Jonah Williams Sucks. That's what the name of the segment is. We'll talk about that at the end of the first hour. Big show here on a Tuesday. Going to do a little recruiting check-in here in 15 minutes. Just got some notes that are compiling. As you would imagine, a huge weekend in recruiting for LSU, so kind of get you up to speed on where things stand there. Glenn West of Go247 going to be with us at 1:30 to talk about the Tigers. Might get a basketball thought from him as well, but we'll focus on LSU and Alabama. Tony Soucalis covers Alabama. We will have him at 2 o'clock. I've talked with Tony many times over the years on my pregame show, and so we'll have Tony at the top of hour number 2 to kind of kick off our in-depth look at the Crimson Tide. And as always, on Tuesday, Sharif Ishak at 2:30, talking about the black and gold coming off a nice win over the Raiders. NFL trade deadline is coming up here. We're kind of keeping an eye on the way things are moving right now. Chase Claypool headed from the Steelers to the Bears. It's kind of a laugh at the Packers, who were supposed to go get his receiver, and the Bears go get Chase Claypool. But if there's something that happens on the Saints front, we will certainly let you know as time moves forward. What's the trade deadline like for a? It's not like baseball where all the buzz is moving and people are flying all over the place. But you got to imagine if you're on a team that's not, in a great spot, that people kind of look around.
Yeah, you definitely do, and I think that's a lot of conversations you have with your agent. It's normally not big of a secret, and this stuff kind of leaks out, and after being around the league for a long time, the agents are the one ruffling those feathers and leaking all this info to the media. So as a player, sometimes you don't know what happens, but if you have a really great relationship with your agent, they're normally on the phone and kind of figuring that stuff out. And like you said, if you're on a bad football team, normally those are most of the candidates. They're getting rid of those guys who are decent and, building for their future and trying to get that draft cap on. And for a lot of guys, they just want to win. So it's a win-win for both sides.
There you go. So we'll let you know if the black and gold make any moves here. It doesn't appear, based on the assets the Saints have and lack thereof in terms of assets with draft picks and whatnot, and where they sit, that they would be too aggressive on either side. They have a lot of big contracts that aren't going to be going anywhere, and they don't have a lot of draft picks to go get stuff. So it's unlikely that the Saints are on the move. But if something happens over the next 2 hours, we will certainly let you know. Speaking of on the move, a lot of people in college football and college sports really on the move. LSU is certainly the beneficiary of that in a lot of aspects, and it's to LSU's detriment in some cases as well. And obviously when you've got a All-American who decides he's going to skip town and ends up in your division, it's a pretty big story. And it was when Eli Ricks decided to enter the transfer portal. And he went to Alabama. And a lot of us on the outside are looking at this through a month and a half going, does Eli Ricks even play? Like, is he ever on the field? And the answer to that for the vast majority of the early season in Tuscaloosa was no, he did not play. But Hendon Hooker and Tennessee kind of had their way with Alabama. We know that, so there probably need to be some adjustments made. Mississippi State came in and couldn't score a touchdown. Certainly not the only reason for that, but part of the story in those 2 weeks was Eli Ricks was inserted into Alabama's starting lineup prior to the Mississippi State game. Nick Saban said he had, quote, gotten more comfortable with the system. And this is also a quote from Saban. I think fundamentally we worked really hard to get Eli to understand the expectations for what we wanted to do and to have a good understanding of the scheme and how we're playing and what we're playing. I think he's developed confidence throughout the season. He's learned more and gotten more comfortable. I think he played well in the last game, so hopefully he can build on that. Ricks replaced Terry and Arnold in the starting lineup. He played every defensive snap the entire game. He was targeted 9 times, and they only made 1 catch for 19 yards on him in his debut. Look, I'm not here to villainize Eli Ricks in this segment. LSU's got an entire secondary full of guys who transferred out of their school to LSU. They got a starting quarterback who's lighting it up, who transferred from his school to another school. I understand the dynamics. But the question is, for you, a guy that played at LSU, had the dislike you did for Alabama in those years, do the players in purple and gold care that Eli Ricks came here and now plays for the other team?
Look, I can't speak for the Karen dynamic. It's just a whole entire different world. It's a different world. But I just know, I mean, when it first happened, I just couldn't see anyone in that locker room that I played with, from whether it's 2010, 11, 12, 13, doesn't matter. Not a soul would have traded in their purple and go play for the Tide. It's blasphemy. It's treason behavior. And quite frankly, I don't think anyone would put up with that. And then two, we play against you. That red dot is going on your back. Like it's gonna be, you're gonna get sought out from the first play of the game, and we're coming after you. But I think it's a different dynamic now with just how vital the transfer portal is. These kids don't care. We got our quarterback going play for the Aggies to fight Aggies. We kind of see how that worked out for him. So I don't know what these kids know. So it's just a different type of thing. But I hate to be that old mean guy on the porch, but I just know you did that back then. It's war, and it's just going to be that on Saturday.
And again, we're getting into this on the first segment on Tuesday because there are bigger fish to fry with this matchup down the road here this week, and we'll certainly get into all that. But I did want to touch on it a little bit. I mean, he came in with Kayshawn. They were the two highest rated players in that class. They were both 5-star guys, close to the top of their position groups. Ricks was the top of his position group, and they certainly would have gone at each other in practice a little bit here and there. He certainly shared a locker room with Jeray Jenkins for a couple of years. I mean, LSU's got some veterans in the wide receiver core that would have seen him over the last 2 years. And so I can't speak to the relationships those guys have. We'll have to lean on maybe Glenn and some of the people who cover the team day to day and say, hey, what came of any of the interviews talking about a guy transferring to Alabama. It's a little different than transferring to wherever. It's Alabama. It matters around here. So I'm just curious if those guys maybe will have something to say this week about a guy that they spend a lot of time around.
Yeah, I think that's the point you got to do. You got to kind of ask the guys in that Karen locker room kind of what they feel about it. I mean, my gut tells me they don't really care because they just know just how vital it is. I remember thinking Corey Connor was going to be, in the fold this year as a running back, and then he kind of goes and does his thing, and no one really talks about
it. I forgot about Corey Connor.
Yeah,
brought that up. I forgot about it.
Yeah, so no one kind of made a big deal about it. The running backs just kind of keep on ticking, and you just keep rolling that way. So I think kind of guys know, especially if you aren't happy with your current situation for whatever reason it is. Maybe the coach yelled at you and made you cry and sick to your stomach, and now I'm going to transfer. Like, who knows why these kids are transferring these days? But I think they're all kind of locking stuff and supporting each other with kind of the decisions they want to make. But just the Alabama, man, I don't know if I can get behind that.
My sincere guess, I don't know this, my sincere guess is that Eli Ricks will not be handed a microphone this week by the Alabama media. I'm guessing Nick will tell him to stay in the locker room and go to practice. That's my guess. But so I don't think you'll hear from Eli. If he goes out there and makes 2 interceptions, runs one back for a touchdown, and Alabama wins by 20, I think you'll hear from him first out of the locker room after the game's over. But I would have to think, without knowing Eli at all, that this game will mean a lot to him. It's a guy who didn't have the chance to play for 2 months, really, then got out there, and you're going against the school that you decided to leave. Now, Ed Ogeron's not here, and Corey Raymond's not here, and whatever defensive coordinator you want to pick that he played for, there were 100 of them. But they're not here, so it's not all the same cast of characters. However, it's a place you were. You're going back there. You got to think there's going to be a little bit of a chip on your shoulder in that situation.
100%. Now, I think the number one reason why he's probably not going to stay far away from the media this week, they're going to probably be asking about that LSU post. Like, what's up with that? I mean, what's up with that? What's going on with that, Mr. Ricks? But, yeah, I think for him it's going to mean a lot anytime, you kind of have that former team. You kind of know how the locker room, we've been in the inside of that building. You know what's being said. You kind of know everyone on that roster. You got to want to play well against that team, whether you go to Alabama, you go to the Aggies, wherever school you go to, you play your former team. You're going to want to put on a show, but I can tell Mr. Ricks this. It's not those Mississippi State 3-4-star guys you're going to be playing this week. You're going to be playing against some NFL guys. This is a different level of receiver you're playing against. Obviously, you got a little taste of that when you're here at LSU, but it's going to be a big jump in talent, so I hope he's ready and brings his big boy pants on Saturday.
Yeah, and I'll, toss my unsolicited opinion into the pot. As I said to start the segment, I'm well aware that LSU's quarterback committed, signed, and played for Arizona State for a couple of years as a starter and left. I'm well aware that the whole secondary basically transferred in outside of Jay Ward. Everybody else basically is a transfer in. You got offensive linemen that transferred. You got linebackers that transferred. I get it. Like, so it's the nature of college football. I hope they torch him on Saturday. I hope he gets a 4-0. I hope he's the 13th pick in the draft and signs for $18 million. I hope he gets lit up like a Christmas tree on Saturday. That's not. I don't want him to get hurt. I want to be healthy. I want to be out there. I want Kayshawn running by him like he's standing still.
Look, I'll tell you one thing. Any catch he gives up, it could be a 5-yard hitch run. The student section is going to let him hear about it. I think a lot of people going to this game, they're going to know the 5-star corner took his talents to Tuscaloosa, and I don't think they're going to be too happy and singing his praises on Saturday. So I expect an electric environment there. And anytime you got the former head coach coaching, you got the former 5-star DB taking his talent to Tuscaloosa, people are going to be rowdy, man. So I'm excited to kind of see that whole atmosphere and how this whole thing plays out.
He's a heck of a player, man. That pick 6 in Gainesville 2 years ago. But put your hand in the cookie jar. Might have somebody running the other way. We'll see. That'll be the end of that storyline here with Eli Ricks coming back to Baton Rouge. He's a really good player and obviously did not play the first 2 months, and now he's broken into the starting lineup. So you will see a lot of number 7 in Crimson in Tiger Stadium coming up on Saturday. Tony Soucalis will tell us a little bit more about this Alabama Crimson Tide team coming up at 2 o'clock. Of course, we'll have Sharif Ishaq at 2:30, Glenn West coming up in 15 minutes. But first, we will go to a little recruiting update, give you some names of some visitors that are going to be here. And there's a real position of need in this recruiting class that it seems like LSU's really making some inroads on. We'll talk about that next on Hunt and Hill.
Hunt Palmer and Jeremy Hill. It's Hunt and Hill.
One Bath and Closets. The website's onebathandclosets.com. Renovation to your bathroom. You can have a gorgeous bathroom, even in your existing space. Maybe your closet situation is just a disaster. There's shoes everywhere. Can't find your ties. There's not enough room. Maybe you need somebody to come in there and knock out some walls and redo the whole deal. One Bath and Closets can do that. Maybe you've got enough space. You just need some minor adjustments. You need some different shelves, different drawers, maybe some compartments that you can put things in that you're not capable of coming up with yourselves. One Bath and Closet, David Duvall and his crew can do it. They've been in the business for 3 decades. When you go to onebathandclosets.com, tell them that Hunt and Hill sent you. 30% off your closet remodel. Also go to onebathandclosets.com and look at the testimonials. They're all good. Why? Because David and his crew do it right the first time. They're not coming back 3 weeks later because something's faulty and didn't work out. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. New bathroom, new closets. Check out the website. It shows all their capabilities, testimonials. All of it's right there at onebathandclosets.com. One Bath and Closets at onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
Crime has serious consequences.
But anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money.
Join me, Jimmy Out and Mike Delicano for the Tuesday edition of Game Time presented by Bet Rivers. We're at Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in the heart of Mid-City. Game Time presented by Bet Rivers, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Glenn West coming up here in 15 minutes from right now. We'll talk a little recruiting here, Jeremy. If you look at LSU secondary, which we were talking about in the last segment briefly, Greg Brooks is a senior. Todd Harris is a fifth-year senior. Jay Ward is a senior. Joe Fouché is a fifth-year senior. Those are just safeties. There's four of them right there. Then you go to the cornerback spot, and you've got a lot of guys who very well may not be here next year. Some have options, but most of them may not be here. Seven Banks has graduated already. Mekhi Garner is a junior and could go if he wants to. Got great size and has played well. Jark Bernard Converse is a senior. I mean, this is a very, very old LSU secondary. So they're going to have to supplement it from the back end with some really good recruiting, as well as the transfer portal, very likely once again. But it's the class, while it's filled out very nicely, they've still got to go get some guys in the secondary. And it sounds like things are moving really in the right direction with a couple of guys in the secondary. The first is Jovian Toviano, who is from a big safety from Arlington, Texas. He's by On3, the number 5 safety in the country, the number 41 player in the country, so his top 50 player. It sounds like he's going to visit LSU this coming weekend, which is huge. That's a guy who's spent time on this campus, who a lot of people believe LSU's done a very good job in recruiting. If you look at the recruiting prediction machine at On3, 90% of the predictions are to LSU, just 2% to Texas A&M. So that's a guy who's coming in this weekend, huge recruiting weekend, and a guy that you've got to try to get in the boat here as you try to restock the shelves in the secondary.
Yeah, that's kind of the biggest question mark if you're kind of looking for the future of this team, especially just going, the short-term future of next year. That's going to be a big, huge void in the secondary. The second you finish that bowl game, you're going to have to refill those spots exponentially quick. And I think for Coach Kelly, it's something that you just kind of did. He kind of, repaired the secondary overnight, it seems like, compare what you saw in that Texas Bowl and to kind of what's playing on Saturday this season. And I think, obviously, to me, you want to start with the recruiting. You want to have guys, even with the transfer portal, that you get as freshmen that you can develop and be in this program. And obviously, I don't think, for me, I'm not doubting the job that Coach Kelly can do in the portal and kind of seeing what Matt House has done with this defense. It's going to be a lot easier to make that case to come play in the secondary and Jacoby Matthews. But next year, going into the secondary with Matt House calling those plays and seeing what he's doing with the secondary. So I think, for starts, you got to get the Tavianos of the world. You got to continue to root. Desmond Ricks is the name that, I'd be throwing around there a little bit in the secondary. And if you can kind of fill that out, I think that's going to spring you to a top 3 recruiting class in this country. And I think cornerback and safety is going to be a big part of getting that done in this recruiting cycle. You
mentioned Desmond Ricks, who is number 1 cornerback in the country for this coming year. He's classified and now is class of 23, 6'1", 180 from Chesapeake, Virginia, now at IMG Academy. He and his dad are coming on their own dime this weekend to see LSU and Alabama. This is an unofficial visit, but they will be here. And you're talking about a kid that is looking at LSU, is looking at Alabama, looking at Miami, looking at Florida, and you're going to see Corey Raymond, stick his fangs in here. You're going to see Nick Saban go after this thing hard, and you're going to see LSU go at this thing hard. And I think there are a lot of people in the industry that think LSU's doing a really good job. And I would say that they are, because he's showing up to the game this coming Saturday. And if you can get those two guys into this class, all of a sudden you're locked for a top 5 class, and you're now bringing in top-end talent. I mean, you're talking about 2 of the top 45 players in the country and 2 of the top players at a massive position of need. And so this weekend, while it's massive for LSU to go out there and try to win the game for this year, to try to win the West and do whatever that may lead to, it's also a big weekend on campus for it to be a great environment and LSU to come out, play really hard and play really well and keep Tiger Stadium involved, so that everybody around here is looking around going, this place is really something, and you got to get this class. It's the first real Brian Kelly class. It needs to be a really good one.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's important, and especially I think with the play on the field, it's definitely going to help this case. And I think anytime you're a top tier player at your position in the country, you're always looking at the guys that are playing your position. And if you're a cornerback or safety, you're looking at this LSU secondary like, man, it's going to be me and who else? Like, who else is going to be challenging me for a starting spot? And I think that's every, freshman's dream is to come into a big-time Power 5 conference and potentially be a starter going into the season. And what you've seen from Coach Kelly, not afraid to play as freshmen, not afraid to put those guys out there, especially if you're talented enough to play. You're going to have a big-time opportunity to do that. So that just makes that recruiting pitch so much easier. You don't have to throw any of your current players under the bus. Like, look, it's going to be a mass exodus in this secondary. We don't have to throw our guys under the bus. You're just going to have an opportunity to challenge for a starting spot right away, and I think that only helps your recruiting pitch.
Another, and this won't be this weekend, but another big deal in the recruiting world, and kind of big literally in this case, offensive line. We know that LSU is building the foundation of a very strong offensive line. You've got true freshmen on the outside at your tackles. You've got a young player in Garrett Dellinger right there who's playing at a guard, and you're doing a really good job in this recruiting class of continuing to bring in high-quality offensive linemen. The next one very well could be DJ Chester, who is, by On3's consensus, a 4-star, the number 11 interior offensive lineman, which couples guards and centers. Top 15 player in the state of Georgia, top 150 player in the country, 6'5", 315 pounds, has lost some weight, and kind of fits the mold of what we've talked about with Brian Kelly's offensive lineman: long, tall, rangy, and not necessarily big in the gut. And this is not one, and he's going to commit on Thursday. And right now, On3's database has got him 95% pointed towards LSU. We'll see if it comes to fruition on Thursday, but they're starting to really put together the pieces of a solid offensive front.
Yeah, I think that's something that, Coach Kelly's kind of made his hay, especially at Notre Dame, recruiting offensive line and really developing those guys, not to just be NFL players, but to be stars in the NFL, all-pro, Pro Bowl type players. And he's done a phenomenal job doing that. So his eye for the offensive line talent, especially guys who kind of fit that mold, guys who aren't coming into college at 350+, guys you can kind of shift their frame and be able to move in space and kind of do the things they want to do in a spread out offense. And so I love the offensive line we have, thus far, when you got a guy like Zalance Hurd starting it off, and now you're, filling that around with interior guys and all the things they can do that way. I think that'd be a big time commit for the LSU Tigers.
Yeah, look, Zalance Hurd is the number 1 guy in this class as far as offensive lineman. Tyree Adams, the offensive tackle from St. Aug, who is a consensus 4-star prospect and a top 10 player in the state by most accounts. You have those 2 guys in the boat right now, and you got Paul Mabanga as well, who is a interior player potentially from Buford, Georgia, where you've had some success in the past. Guys like Vidal Alexander, and then you look at what you could do with DJ Chester. That would be a really strong 4-man offensive line class. And look, Brad Davis finally has his feet on the ground. I spoke with Brad Davis last year in the middle of the season after Ed Ogeron had been notified that he would be fired. And it was just a very interesting conversation, and one I just felt so bad for him because he was so happy to come back to Baton Rouge and to take the job at LSU, and then boom, 2 months in, he may not have a job. And that's just a really tough spot to be in when you get to a dream place, your parents are still here, you're going there on Sundays to have church and gumbo, and it's just such a very comfortable place. And then all of a sudden, boom, the rug's pulled out immediately, and you're probably going to have to look for another job. But it turns out he's the one guy that Brian Kelly wants to keep on the staff. He gets to keep his feet on the ground. He doesn't have to move anything out of his office or move his family anywhere. And now he can start really recruiting because now you're in the the foundation of a program as opposed to what looks like the eroding, which it did erode and it was gone. Now you're in on the ground floor, and it's just such a comfortable place for him to be, and he's obviously putting in a ton of work, getting some guys committed and continuing to work on some guys, and it's looking like this offensive line is going to be strong for years to come.
Yeah, it most definitely is. And I think that's kind of everyone who kind of were naysayers going into the season. That was a huge question mark, especially when you kind of lost the older, veteran guys you have from last year's offensive line. And then you got a whole entire makeshift line where it's a bunch of guys who really haven't played a bunch of football. And those guys are kind of scrambling to figure out, who that starting five would be. But I think the job that Brad Davis has done, it's been incredible to be able to get this run game going the way they have, especially starting the season the way they did, and obviously giving Jaden time to survey the field and do the things he's done that way. He's done an incredible job, especially when you look at the fact that, he got 2 freshman tackles starting on the outside, which I think a lot of coordinators, a lot of offensive line coach probably wouldn't love if you told them you had to deal with that for an entire season. So I think, looking at the job he's done this year and kind of seeing the talent that he's going to be able to play with this year and for the future, I think Coach Davis is going to continue to do an incredible job with this offensive line.
Look, it's not a coincidence that the offense has made huge strides over the last 2 games. It's because the offensive line has done a much better job than they were doing early in the season. Jaden Daniels had no chance against Florida State at really any point. They did not do a good job at all of blocking Tennessee in the pass rush or on the ground. They did not do a good job against Auburn dealing with that either. But they were a lot better in these last 2 games against Florida and against Ole Miss. Now, those 2 teams have been bad on defense, so we get it. But they're moving in the right direction for sure, and that's helped of the offensive line. A little recruiting talk there, a little bit of On3 mention. Want to give a shout-out to my guys over there at On3, Shea Dixon, Billy Embody, Matthew Bruni, the crew. I jumped aboard there over the weekend. You're going to see me on the On3 message boards doing a little baseball chat here and there. I will be doing some fall updates on the site every couple of weeks, and then weekly when the season cranks up over there at On3. Really excited to join that team. Fired up because they've got some great stuff going on there on the recruiting and team front, and I just hope to add a small part here with a little bit of baseball. So check out the guys over there at On3. Appreciate them for letting me join the squad for as little piece as I will be providing over there. It's Tuesday edition of Hunt and Hill. If you're looking for something to do tonight, sports trivia over there at Pluckers. There's a million sports on. NBA's on, World Series is on, hockey's on, whatever it is. I think the Maction's back tonight. They got Mac football tonight. So any sort of sports you want to watch tonight, they'll be on at Pluckers. We'll be doing some sports trivia at 8:30 at the Nicholson location. You can win gift cards, some cold drinks, something delicious to eat. We always have a blast. Nicholson location Tuesdays at 8:30, so we'll be out there coming up this evening. When we come back, Glenn West, Go 247, talking Tigers and Tide. It's Hunt and Hill.
Hold down the middle of the day. This is Hunt and Hill.
Start NFL Week 9 off right with the no-sweat same-game parlay from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or already have an account, you'll get free bets back if your Thursday night same-game parlay doesn't hit. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance for an even bigger payday.
Yep. 2 days away from new week starting up in the NFL. FanDuel's got all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads, player props, and, of course, the same-game parlays. The best part, when you win, you get your winnings fast. It's all on an app that's safe, secure, super easy to use. Sign up today with the promo code 1045ESPN for your no-sweat first bet. That's promo code 1045ESPN. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. Refund issues and non-withdrawable free bet. It expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you're someone who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
They said I was small, weak, said my heart wasn't strong enough. But I showed them what heart looked like, again and again and again. Mom got me the right care. The right doctors with Blue Cross coverage. Don't let people tell you who you are. Show them. The right card, the right care.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt and Hill. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. Only available at the Acura Summer of Performance.
This summer, visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the MDX.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.
On Wednesdays, Off the Bench, another day closer to the ultimate battle in Death Valley, Saturday night, LSU-Bama. And the Pellies get ready to smash the Lakers. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
Hunt and Hill, 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Tony Soucalis covers Alabama. He'll join us in 30 minutes from right now at the top of hour number 2, straight up 2 o'clock. So if you want a little info on the Tide, you can jump back in at that point. Our pleasure to welcome to the show Glenn West, Go 247. He's with us every single Tuesday at 1:30. Glenn, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, guys. Congrats on the new gig, Hunt.
I appreciate it. I don't know how much of a gig it is, but I'm looking forward to watching some baseball and talking about it. So we'll continue to do that, but I appreciate it, Glenn. Look, week off for the Tigers. Is there one thing that you think that they needed to look at more so than anything else over the bye week, or just go recruit and get guys healthy?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, you just want to make sure that your team is mentally right and physically right for this game. I mean, it sounds like they're getting some reinforcements back. Good to hear the news on Major Burns, that he's been cleared to return to practice. Good news on Jack Besh and Garrett Dellinger. Sounds like those two guys are both close to returning as well. So I think, just getting into this week with a lot of your big bullets and guys that you're going to be able to trot out there against a really, really talented Alabama team. I think that was probably the most significant thing that you probably could have hoped for out of the bye week.
How big a role does Major Burns play in the game on Saturday, you think?
I think a big one. I mean, they've been missing his communication in the secondary. I think the biggest thing that it gives you now is depth at that position. I mean, they were really, really hurting for quality depth at safety for the last several weeks. You obviously had Bernard Converse playing back there at some points this season, but I liked what Joe Fouché did against Ole Miss, and I like obviously what Greg Brooks has been able to do over the last several weeks as well. So now being able to work Major Burns back in there, I think just adds another layer of continuity and communication in this group.
We know the chances of rain in Death Valley is never, but looking at this forecast for the weekend, not looking too bright with that. Which offense do you think that potentially affects more going into this game?
That's a good question. I mean, I would probably lean towards LSU just because, what they've done so well the last 2 weeks has been airing it out. I mean, Jaden's obviously been a really good quarterback with his legs all season, but what you've really seen these last couple weeks is LSU get these receivers involved. And, if that, one of the big kind of adages of playing in the rain is that you kind of have to keep the ball on the ground and not air it out too much. And so, if that does come to pass, we'll have to wait and see. But, I think LSU has the speed and they have the running attack to be able to combat that issue.
Chatting with Glenn West, go 247 Tigers and Tide, coming up 6 o'clock inside Tiger Stadium on Saturday night. I'm curious if y'all, when y'all have players later tonight or later this week, we'll ask, or do you have any thoughts on the Eli Ricks factor here and him transferring to Alabama and then showing back up? I realize the era we live in college football, but I wonder if that comes up.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be brought up. I'm going to be really, excited to see who we get tonight. We get to talk with the players around 6:30. So, I think it's going to be something that, might be a little bit of added fuel for some of the guys that knew Eli back when he was on the team last year and previous years. But, at the end of the day, I think this is it's going to have to be kind of a secondary storyline for those guys. You're going to have to obviously play extremely, extremely well to be able to beat this Alabama team. And Ricks is just now starting to get involved with that program, it looks like. So, it's going to be important for LSU, especially on offense, to have a plan for him and be able to use their receivers as best they can with him.
Let's talk about the LSU defense facing Alabama and what is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, if not the best quarterback in the country, and a running back who's really found his groove here over the last 5 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, it all starts with Bryce Young. I mean, he's special in a way that, no LSU hadn't faced any quarterback like this. I mean, he is not only fast like Hendon Hooker or a Robbie Ashford or the Florida State quarterback Travis, who they faced earlier this year, but the way he delivers the ball, particularly off platform, he's able to throw the ball really up from any angle and get the ball to his receivers. Just really impressive player. I mean, obviously he's a Heisman Trophy winner, probably going to be a top 3 pick next year in the draft for a reason. And he just presents a whole number of challenges. But really the X factor in this game, I think, is going to be the running back, Jahmyr Gibbs, the transfer from Georgia Tech. I think he is a guy that they've gotten involved in the run game, but also in the passing game. He's one of the leaders in receptions on that team this year. And so LSU's going to have a game plan for him. They're going to have somebody that's up for that challenge, and I think that's going to be really where this game is won, is going to be in the trenches and just how they're able to stop those two guys offensively.
Anytime you have two teams matched up like this, we've seen kind of some of these battles come down to special teams. Who would you give the edge to in this LSU-Alabama matchup this weekend?
In special teams?
Yeah, in special teams.
Well, I mean, I can't imagine how you would give an edge to LSU against any special teams right now. I mean, I would say Alabama for sure. I mean, they have speed, but look, LSU, I think for the first time a couple weeks ago, they didn't hurt themselves. They didn't cost themselves any points on special teams, which I mean is a win in my book for this group and how it's played out this year. So if you can make that a consistent thing where you're not hurting yourselves in that department, where maybe Ramos can come in and give you a nice field goal or two in this game. You don't muff any punts, you don't get any big penalties on special teams. I think that's that's honestly all you can expect from this group at this point.
Look, we know about Will Anderson, and Dallas Turner's a real pain as well, and we know that LSU's got 2 freshmen on the edges. How does LSU handle the pass rush with Emory Jones and Will Campbell as first-year players?
It's going to be their biggest test of the season, and to be quite honest with you, I'm kind of happy that these 2 true freshmen are going to have this opportunity. I mean, they have gotten the experience to this point, but now they have a chance here to really show their true colors and how special they can be over the next couple of years. I'm really excited to see how Campbell and Jones handle those edge rushers for Alabama. It's going to be a tough challenge, and I think the biggest thing with those 2 guys is they got to remember that there's a next play. And so if you lose one battle, if you get beat on a play or 2 early, just make a mental note of it, but don't let it linger. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing for those guys. I mean, I think you're not going to be asking them to sub out or anything like that. I mean, those are your 2 quality options there at tackle, and I think it's going to be nice to have Dellinger back in the fold as a rotational piece at guard. But the way the offensive line has played the last couple weeks, I think you got to ride with what's been working.
So my man, Coach Kelly, give Saban a little birthday wish on Halloween. But as far as this matchup goes, do you think that they kind of overreact to what Bama represents, or do you think they kind of stick with what they've been doing all season with this game plan this week?
Yeah, you got to stick to what works for you. I mean, you obviously have to scheme for the opponent, but I think the identity of this team is starting to become a little bit more clear. I think offensively, it's about riding with the quarterback, with what Jaden does well. He's been able to really show that aggression the last couple of weeks that LSU was hoping for. I expect this to be a little bit higher scoring than maybe even Vegas does. I mean, I think the line right now is 55 or 56. I mean, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if both these teams get into the 30s the way these offenses are cooking right now. So I think you got to lean into that, and defensively, just kind of keep them at bay. I mean, you're not going to be able to stop this offense, I don't think. But you can subdue it and slow them down a little bit. Maybe make this a messier game than Alabama probably anticipates. They come in with 69 penalties. That's one of the worst in the country this year, which is very unprecedented for a Nick Saban team. So if you can make this a little bit of a messier game, I think that bodes well for LSU.
Glenn, I struggle how to word this question, but I think you'll get where I'm coming from. You got this team that's sitting here with a solid record and has the West in control of destiny right in front of them. You've also got a program that Brian Kelly's trying to build from almost scratch. So where are you with this game? Is it an unbelievable opportunity to go try to win the West? Is it a measuring stick to see where you are? Is it a free swing in Alabama? I mean, what are we looking at here on Saturday?
Yeah, I would probably tend to be in the category of it's a measuring stick. Look, I think this is a program that still has a long ways to go. That was one of the better questions we asked Coach Kelly yesterday, was about just how far they have to go to be able to narrow that gap between where LSU is as a program and where Bama is as a program. And it's going to take several years for that freshman recruiting class to really kind of be the identity of this group moving forward. That's where they want to build this program. But I think just, for the short term, what you want to see is a competitive game. You want to show all these recruits that are going to be on campus this weekend that this is a program going in the right direction, that, hey, we're still figuring this thing out. And if you come here, you can have a chance to play early and play for some really top-notch coaches. So I think more than anything, you're just hoping for a competitive game this weekend. But at the end of the day, I do think that part of this grading system for Coach Kelly in his first couple of years here is going to be how he performs in this game in particular. I mean, it's one of those matchups that is just so crucial to LSU's season every year.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee's staring at the same thing right now. Yeah, nice win against Alabama on the other side, but if you don't beat Georgia, you're not going to Atlanta. So It's just you got to beat the teams in your division. There's no doubt about that. Sure. So, now, Glenn, I'll keep it to football this week. Next week when we chat with you, we'll be a day out from the Matt McMahon area, and we'll crank up some basketball questions and obviously react to LSU and Bama. Enjoy the football this weekend. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, you guys too. Thanks so much.
Glenn West, Go247, our guest each and every Tuesday here on Hunt and Hill. Tony Soucalis talking about the Tide, who he covers, coming up at 2 o'clock, and Sharif will check in with Saints and Pels at 2:30. Don't go anywhere. Tuesday edition of Hunt and Hill.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge with Hunt and Hill.
Reliable Roofing and Construction. Check out that website, reliableroofingbr.com.
So happy to tell you guys about Reliable Roofing, a family-run, owned, and operated residential roofing company. They've been in business since 2008 with over 30 years of roofing experience.
5-year labor warranty. 5-year labor warranty on all their work at Reliable Roofing and Construction. And I can promise you that Lionel Hayes, the owner, is going to visit your job site because that's what he does with every single one. He's a Baton Rouge born and raised businessman. His business is here to serve the Baton Rouge area. So if you've got some issues with your roof, you need a inspection, you need a replacement, you just need a repair, Reliable Roofing and Construction can do it for you. Go to the website, reliableroofingbr.com. All the information's right there. Yeah, they got a bunch of pretty pictures of all the great work that they do. They've also got a lot of information that can be very, very helpful to you if you're looking to get some roof work done. Reliable Roofing and Construction. The Instagram is at Reliable Roofing LLC, which has some great shots as well. The website is reliableroofingbr.com.
Professional golfers John Peterson and JJ Colleen answer all your golf and life questions inside the new Drop Biscuit Studios podcast for the people. Download or subscribe today at dropbiscuit.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located
NFL is back. Our coverage starts Sunday at 10 a.m. with Magnolia Bluffs Football Sunday with Jimmy Ott, immediately followed by the Atlanta Falcons and the Los Angeles Chargers at noon, right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Y'all feeling the Alabama hate this week? Is everybody feeling that? Because I can compound it a little bit. Went trick-or-treating last night. Had a wonderful time. Started at 5 o'clock. That's a little early, but we got a 10-month-old. He never went to a door or anything because he can't walk. He can't even really crawl. So we just hold him, and he's in a pumpkin outfit, and all the other kids trick-or-treat and get a couple beers. Go home. Fire up the Bengals game. All right, Bengals primetime. Let's go. Jonah Williams is awful. He's atrocious. He was a turnstile last night. It was sometimes Myles Garrett, which is tough. Sometimes somebody else. Didn't matter. He couldn't block any of them. He couldn't block me. He was atrocious. He went to Alabama. He's a Bengals left tackle, and Joe was just absolutely under fire the entire game last night. It was awful.
Yeah, that was the one thing I mentioned when I picked the Bengals yesterday. You do have to deal with Myles Garrett, but that was just bad. And I think for the Bengals, I want to kind of put it all on Jonah a little bit there, but I think,
will. He went to Bama.
Yeah, that doesn't help either. But I think they got to get Mixon going, man. They just can't get him going for whatever reason. And when you put Joe in obvious pass situations down after down after down, you get behind in the football game, then they're just spinning their ears back. And then for a guy like Jonah, who I think has just not had a great NFL career, then you're looking at a first-round pick. To me, I don't want my first-round anything playing to that level, and it was just bad. They ran a screenplay. I've never seen a quarterback get sacked on a screenplay. You want them to get up the field, and you're getting sacked on a screenplay. Like, literally, you have to block for 2 seconds. 1,001, 1,002. That's it. All you got to do. Ball's getting out, ball's going to the back. He couldn't do that. That was just one of the bad performances. I'm not like a PFF loyal savant and just following them heavily and believe in their culture. Shout out Chris Collinsworth, former Bengal, but I bet his grade was absolutely terrible last night. That was just...
It wouldn't show up on the scale. I once made a 6 on a college test. I knew they dropped one, and my effort probably wasn't the best on that test. But he would have gotten less than 6. Anything that could go wrong for the Bengals last night did. They drive right down on the first drive. They're looking like they're going to punch one in, and then all of a sudden, Myles Garrett goes up, knocks it up in the air, get an interception. The Browns come off the edge at one point, and Joe's in the pocket. He's about to step up and make a throw to a one-on-one matchup, going to get a big play on it, and the defensive end makes an unbelievable play and just gets his hand on the ball and knocks it out for a fumble. They couldn't get anything cooking at all. McPherson missing field goals. And all of a sudden you look up and it's 24 or whatever it was to nothing.
Yeah, it's bad. And that's why I talk about game flow all the time. And you saw that Browns offense really kind of struggle to start, but the Bengals just gave them opportunity after opportunity to kind of get the momentum of that football game. And anytime you can hand it to Chubb, that was another thing I was worried about going into this game. One of the best backs in all of football, and you can give Brissett the time in the world to run heavy play action, and another Alabama guy. I was watching the game last night, just reminded me so much of 2013. Mari Cooper just killing man-to-man coverage, and you got your third and fourth corner trying to guard a number one receiver. Everything just went wrong for the Bengals, and then you see Awuzie out for the season with the ACL. That secondary, man, it's a lot of holes in it now, and so that avenue for the Bengals is just got to only get tougher. You don't have really a run game. Your left tackle absolutely stinks. L's banged up on the right side, but you saw them kind of say, you know what, we're not going to bang our head against Collins. Let's move out Garrett over there to the other side and just go after that guy. And we talk about it all the time in the film room. Whatever small animal you can think of, a rat, a bird, a hamster, they found the rat, and that was Williams last night. And you just line up your best guy against the rat, and you just have a time of your life. You saw Myles Garrett just having fun doing a Thriller dance. You don't want to see.
I think if they put an actual rat at left tackle, it would not have done a worse job than Jonah Williams.
Maybe it would
have scared the player, and he would have run away. An actual rat would be better at left tackle than Jonah Williams. I can't imagine what that film session must look like when they go in there on Wednesday, Tuesday. I mean.
Yeah, it's got to be bad. Yeah, they'll probably get tomorrow.
Jonah, why were you wearing roller skates in the game? Where were your cleats? Why were you in rollerblades?
Yeah, it was bad for Jonah last night, and you definitely don't want to be going against Myles Garrett, an absolute freak. But at least you have to do something, man. Get in its way, make it tough, and then anytime you're doing what every offensive coordinator in the world's gonna do, let's give him a chip. Then he just spins inside on him and gets his sack spinning inside. So it's nothing you could do. It's a head coach's worst nightmare. It's like we got our star quarterback and we're trying to get him killed. Like I know my boy Joey B's going out there trying to score plays, but I don't think getting killed was on the resume or the itinerary for that football game. They did the best job they could last night of trying to do that, especially with the left tackle, the play of the left tackle. That was just absolutely terrible.
Tough loss for the Bengals because, as I mentioned, if you could find a way to go on the road in that game and get a win, which it's in the division, it's on the road, I get it, it's not the easiest thing to do, but if you could have gotten that win, all of a sudden you look up and you've got a couple of really manageable football games right there in front of you, and they just couldn't quite get it done. So it's a disappointing loss. They'll have Carolina coming to Cincinnati next week. Then they'll have a bye. Then they're at Pittsburgh. So it looked really good, and all of a sudden, you're back a game and not in the ideal position you would have liked heading into next week. But tough loss. Browns played good football and just absolutely whipped the Bengals from start to finish in that football game. It was never really all that competitive. So disappointing end to the Halloween night, but I think Myers had fun as a pumpkin. So you got to take your wins where you can get them. Fun first hour here on a Tuesday edition of Hunt and Hill. If you missed it, you can catch it on demand at 1045ESPN.com. Go to 1045ESPN.com's on-demand page. Click Hunt and Hill. You can catch all of it right there. It's also on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on YouTube. Those of y'all hanging out in the YouTube Bayou Ford chat, we'd appreciate a like if you could. First hour, open things up, talking a little LSU and Alabama. Recruiting check-in at 1:15. Some really positive trends in LSU's direction and a really big weekend coming up for the Tigers. We talked about that at 1:15. Glenn West of Go247 with us at 1:30. In the second hour, we are locked and loaded this evening. Going to give our top 6 for the college football playoff. The first rankings will come out tonight. We'll get you what Jeremy and I think about that top 6. Sharif Ishak with us at 2:30. When we come back to kick off hour number 2, we'll have Tony Soucalis, who covers the Alabama Crimson Tide. I've had Tony on for a number of years on the pregame show. Does a really good job covering the Crimson Tide. So we'll talk with Tony coming up next after Sports Center. Hope your Tuesday is clipping along quite nicely. Come back with us after Sports Center. It's Hunt and Hill.
When I was a boy, I spent my days climbing trees, catching fish. Barefoot in the river I walked, listening to crickets, counting stars. This was home. After my stroke, I wondered if I'd make it back to the people and places I love. But I got the right doctors with Blue Cross coverage. Your card matters. Your home does too.
Enter now for a chance to win a catch and cook fishing experience from the Louisiana Charter Boat Association with me, Chef Jay Ducote, winner of Beat Bobby Flay. Register now at gocatch.com. That's GEAUX catch.com.
Light beer shouldn't taste like water. Miller Lite has more taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. Only available at the Acura Summer of Performance.
This summer, visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the MDX.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. A coaching change in Brooklyn. The Nets and coach Steve Nash mutually have agreed to part ways. Brooklyn off to a 2-5 start, dealing with another controversy surrounding Kyrie Irving as well. Nash being out in Brooklyn is not a surprise to ESPN's Nick Friedel.
When you have nonstop issues off the floor, and the team is not playing well on the floor and isn't becoming the group that you wanted them to be, and you don't have the type of personalities that can all get on the same page and play well, I think Steve thought to himself, I got a lot of other things I want to do in my life right now.
Suspended Celtics coach Ime Udoka has emerged as the likely next head coach in Brooklyn, reports ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. Boston will let him leave for another job. John Vaughn is the Nets' interim coach. On this NFL trade deadline day, the Dolphins acquired linebacker Bradley Chubb from the Broncos for a package that includes Miami's 2023 first-round pick from San Francisco. Vikings filled a need at tight end, acquired T.J. Hawkinson from the Lions. Steelers traded receiver Chase Claypool to the Bears for a second-round pick.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all of your car care needs. We're close, convenient, and known for our guaranteed everyday low prices and excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
1, 2, 3. Hunt and Hill. Hunt Palmer, Jeremy Hill, holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, it's Hunt and Hill. Now on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hour 2 on a Tuesday, off and moving. Hunt Palmer, Jeremy Hill here with you in the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city. Head out to the Jim's Firearm phone lines now. Tony Soucalis covers the Alabama Crimson Tide for Tide Illustrated, part of the Rivals Network. He joins us now. Tony, thanks for the time. How are you?
How's it going?
Doing good. Yeah, going very well. Glad you could be here with us. Let's take a snapshot at the first 2 months of this Alabama season pre-bye week. A lot of close football games, which I don't know that we would expect. But honestly, a dropped angle route from maybe being undefeated up there in Knoxville. How do you measure what Alabama's accomplished through October?
You know, I mean, it's been a weird season for Alabama. I think that it's kind of like a Ferrari that's stuck in second gear. I think that when you look at it, they definitely have the potential to be an elite team, but they really have only played up to their potential in a few games, and they've made a lot of costly mistakes that they've been able to get over. You know, and it eventually bit them against Tennessee, but it's been a weird season so far. So you definitely wouldn't classify it as bad so far, but I think it could have been a lot better. I think this Alabama team could be special if it puts things together, but it just hasn't seemed to do that yet so far this season. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of respond out of the bye week. Because, I mean, this has the potential to be a great defense, but then, you know, you can't give up 50 points against Tennessee and call yourself one of the best defenses ever. So it really is kind of an interesting season on both sides of the ball for Alabama, and I think there's a lot more to be written before we can really kind of make that judgment.
You know, on the defensive side, when you look at this Alabama defense and you know a lot of the names, but you know there have been teams that have moved the ball and even scored points on this Alabama team. What has been the biggest issue when that's happened?
I think, you know, I mean, penalties certainly, and just undisciplined play certainly don't help. You know, I think that's been a problem for Alabama, and I think that's resulted. I mean, when you look at that real offensive explosion for Tennessee, that certainly hurt. But I mean, also just you have to do a better job of covering, you know, elite teams. Against Tennessee was the one that, you know, I guess you keep on going back to, but they weren't really able to establish much of a pass rush. So Tennessee, you know, was able to kind of pick them apart. So that, you know, Alabama definitely has the capabilities to get after the passer. You know, they've got one of the best, you know, front sevens in the nation, and especially when it comes to rushing the passer. But they weren't able to do that against Tennessee. It really comes down to consistency, because I think if you were going to maybe find a weakness in this Alabama defense, it might be, you know, in the secondary, maybe in the back end, maybe as a safety play in terms of coverage. But I don't necessarily think that they're not talented in that area, or that's the place that you could exploit them on a regular basis. I think it's just consistency all around. I mean, sometimes it's the cornerback play, sometimes it's the safety play, sometimes it's the front seven not getting enough pressure, the defensive line's been kind of inconsistent at times. It's all there. Alabama has all the pieces. It's just really kind of putting it together consistently.
There was an eyebrow raised in Louisiana over the first couple of months when Eli Ricks wasn't ever really on the field. It turns out against Mississippi State, he was on the field a significant amount. So what's been the story there?
I think it came down to him grasping the defense, and he had that injury that he was coming off of, and there was a lot of competition at the Alabama cornerback position, and if he wasn't grasping it in practice and really kind of winning that position, that battle throughout the week, then I think he kind of got beaten out. And really, until the Tennessee game, you'd seen Terry and Arnold play really well alongside Kool-Aid McKinstry. It's not like that's been a glaring issue the whole year, and I think that Tennessee game allowed Alabama to kind of reset. And you put Eli Ricks in against Mississippi State, and he was able to do really well. Now, granted, Eli Ricks against Mississippi State, he was going against exactly the type of receivers that he is going to excel against. He's a big guy with long arms. He was going up against big receivers. You're not going to outmuscle Eli Ricks. So I think that was a really great performance for him. 4 pass deflections, but he only allowed 1 reception on 10 balls thrown his way. Let's see how he does, though. He's probably going to get the start against LSU. Let's see how he does against his old team, who he's going to be going up against a lot quicker receivers, not as big of receivers, but quicker receivers. That's going to be a whole nother challenge. Now, granted, he's been able to do that during his time with the Tigers, but we'll see if he knows Alabama's defense enough to kind of continue that success this week against a different type of challenge when you look at LSU's receivers compared to what he was going up against Mississippi State. But as far as him not getting that opportunity, I think it's really has to do with his grasp of the defense, which I think now, from an Alabama perspective, you would hope that he has a better grasp. It certainly looked like he had a good one against Mississippi State. I think if he's able to kind of replicate that, I think he could really prove that he knows this defense, and he can kind of get to being the Eli Ricks that everyone expected him to be, a projected first-round pick.
Anytime there's thunderstorms on the weather report, I think it's both teams would love to get their run game going. But Jahmyr Gibbs against Mississippi State, only 37 rushing yards, 3.7 yards a carry. How important do you think it is for them this Saturday to try to get him going for Alabama?
That's been a big question for Alabama. It's not just Jahmyr Gibbs, but it's the backs after him. I mean, outside of him, Alabama's remaining backs only have 31 yards over the last 2 games. And so against Mississippi State, the Bulldogs really just kind of didn't give Alabama anything on the ground. I think they averaged Alabama went into the game leading the nation in yards per carry, but only averaged 1.1 yards against Mississippi State. And so it's a huge thing for them to be able to get things going on the ground. LSU's got a talented defense. You can't be one-dimensional against a team like that. And, LSU can also put some points on the board, too. So I think that, if you're too one-dimensional, if you have to rely on Bryce Young, then I think that's a bad recipe going into what's going to be a raucous environment in Tiger Stadium at night. You're going to have to be a balanced offense. This is a good LSU team. It's a different LSU team than the one that lost to Florida State in the first week. And I think that Alabama's really going to be tested. And it's got to be at a day game. So, they're going to have to be able to move the ball on the ground as well as it's through the air. And it's not just Gibbs either. It's really the offensive line. It's the tight ends. It's just opening up those holes. And that's something that's been talked about a lot over here this week.
Tony Soucalis is the managing editor for Tide Illustrated, part of the Rivals Network, covering the Alabama Crimson Tide. Joins us here on Hunt and Hill. I don't need to really ask much about Gibbs or Bryce Young. Those 2 guys are superstars. The question I think that a lot of people have here in Baton Rouge is, what about the wide receiver room? It's kind of the national narrative that Alabama doesn't quite have the guys they've had over the last few years. I find it hard to believe they don't have a lot of guys that can play wide receiver. Who would you imagine that Nick Saban would like to step up here over the last month?
So the thing about Alabama's receiving room is it's not bad. It just doesn't have a first-round pick like it has in recent years. And it's just it's really deep, but there's not that one guy. And I think that it comes down to consistency again, and you just really never know who it's going to be. And I think there's something to be said about having somebody that you can rely on. And it just doesn't seem like Alabama has that guy in their receiving room right now. It could be anybody any week. And I guess that's a positive, but at the same time, you don't know who it is going to be, and it's hard to kind of know what you have at the position group. And I think Alabama would like to see people step in. I think you look at a guy like Ja'Cory Brooks. He's a guy I think that could be, that could step in and be that guy. Obviously, they brought in Jermaine Burton from Georgia to be that guy. From a perspective of something that could, change Alabama's offense, I think you'd want one of those field stretchers to step up. They've got Tyler Harrell, who just made his debut, the transfer from Louisville with a sub 4.3 speed. You've got another really burner in Isaiah Bond, who's really fast, a freshman. JoJo Earls, a sophomore, who's kind of shifty and also really fast. You kind of want one of those guys to help you open up the field, and that's something that Alabama has done at times, but maybe not so much as they would have expected to do so this year, and definitely not as much as they were able to do with Jameson Williams. So I think when you look at Alabama, it could be really anybody to step up. They just need somebody to be that consistent go-to target. I don't think you want to be totally resigned to giving the ball to one guy, and so it's good to have that diverse receiver room. But at the same time, I think you do need somebody to step up and be the leader and be the guy that you can count on a weekly basis.
Tony, admittedly, I'm watching from afar, but this is kind of my synopsis of Alabama, and I'm curious your thoughts on it. Ridiculously talented, obviously. A little bit more mistake-prone than usual this year, but Bryce Young's so good that they have a real chance to beat anybody they play because he's that good. Am I far off there?
I think so. I think you're right on. And look, I think Alabama sometimes gets judged on its own standard. I mean, if you look across, college football, I've said before, this doesn't look like a title team. This team's not very disciplined for a team that's, compared to other Alabama teams. But then I look around the nation and Georgia's not always there every week. And, I think Tennessee needed a lot of help to beat Alabama. I think Tennessee's a really good team, but they're certainly not unbeatable. And Ohio State really struggled against Penn State before just turning it on at the last second. So, Clemson, same way, is another team I think is beatable. So, as bad or not even really bad, but as uncharacteristic as Alabama's look compared to other title teams, I think they're right in the mix, right? I think that, they do everything, and you got a guy like Bryce Young, you got a guy like Will Anderson on the other side of the ball. Those guys are going to keep you in games. And so that's what I talk about. It's kind of like a Ferrari being stuck in second gear. It's this Alabama team could be really special, and it's probably the most talented team in the nation. And I think it's going to be really kind of telling to see what it does over the next 2 weeks. Alabama can clinch the SEC West with 2 wins in these next 2 weeks, and let's see how they come out after the break, because it could be a new look Alabama playing up more to its potential, or this could just be the story of this team, was a really talented team that could never get it into full gear. And I think these next 2 weeks, starting this week in Tiger Stadium, is really going to kind of answer that question for us.
Tony, always appreciate and enjoy our conversations. Enjoy the football this weekend.
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to my trip to Baton Rouge.
All right. He is Tony Soucalis, managing editor of Tide Illustrated, part of the Rivals Network. I think that's kind of it. If Alabama comes out and plays their A game on Saturday, LSU's not going to win the game. But if they come out and and have 11 penalties or 17 like they did in Austin, or you have one of those huge plays where somebody drops the ball. Look, Tua dropped the football in 19, and then the punter couldn't figure out what he was doing, and LSU got a big play there. Things can happen, but Alabama hasn't really played their A game a ton this year, and so we'll see.
Yeah, no, I think that's why this game is so intriguing. You just see a lot more chinks in that Alabama armor than we've seen in a very, very long time, especially kind of when you look at those receivers who's kind of really carried Alabama. When you think about even the Eddie Lacy days, they still had guys on the outside that you really had to respect. And I think looking at that now and kind of seeing, Bryce really have to scramble for his life and extend plays and try to make magic happen time and time again. And that defense give up the amount of points they gave up and being on the verge to lose to the Aggies. I don't think anyone should be on the verge of losing to the Aggies. So I think for a lot of Tiger fans, they got a lot
App
more
State
hope.
was on the verge of losing to the Aggies. They got it done, but they were on the verge of losing to the Aggies.
Yeah, so I think for a lot of Tiger fans, you have a lot more hope going into this game, and I think that's going to create an electric atmosphere.
Sharif Ishak with us in 15 minutes. When we come back, we're going to give you our thoughts on the initial top 4 and even top 6. That's next on Hunt and Hill.
Hunt Palmer and Jeremy Hill. It's Hunt and Hill.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal. They're elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana each and every month. New month today, November the 1st. New champion of Louisiana, this time an individual. It's Molly Kimball.
Yeah, Molly Kimball is a registered dietitian, nutrition journalist, and founder of Oshner Eat Fit. Created in 2013 as a resource for all things wellness, Eat Fit is a nonprofit initiative of Oshner Health that works to make the healthy choice to the easy choice through collaborative partnerships with restaurants, markets, and other food establishments.
If you've gone to restaurants and you've seen the Eat Fit thing on the menu, that's Molly Kimball. That's her organization. She has done an incredible job working closely with local restaurants, markets, and other food service establishments to help identify and develop dishes that meet the established nutrition criteria. In addition to Eat Fit, Molly's worked to help bridge the gap between the idea of wellness and real life through some other ventures. She's got a weekly podcast and a weekly TV segment on WGNO. So Molly doing an incredible job trying to help our great state be healthy and eat a little bit better. We know we got great food down here, and now you got menu options that say Eat Fit because of Molly, who's done a great job with Eat Fit in our great state. She is this month's champion of Louisiana. If you know someone like this, it's a person or an entity or a nonprofit, something that's doing a great work here in Louisiana, we want to tell their story here on Hunt and Hill. Go to lwcc.com/Louisiana Loyal. That's lwcc.com/Louisiana Loyal. Nominate somebody to be a champion of Louisiana so we can tell their story. Excited to tell you all November long about Molly Kimball, this month's champion of Louisiana.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Before we begin any electrical work here, we perform a home safety check that begins at your electrical panel to make sure that you and your family are safe. For all your upgrades, installations, and repairs, call Mr. Electric.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt and Hill. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, presented by Insurance Network of Louisiana. Keep counting you down to LSU-Bama. Peter Burns of the SEC Network will join us, and we'll talk quarterback play with Sean Salisbury, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Did you play this song on purpose? No.
Timing, man. Divine timing.
This is perfect. All right,
Divine
Loser is the
timing.
song that comes in. We're going to get to our top 6 in the playoff rankings briefly before we get to Sharif, but I got to read this quote. I think there's about to be a pretty serious autopsy on the Auburn football program now that Brian Harsin has been fired, and people are going to start talking because they don't have to worry about their jobs anymore. And it's going to be fireworks. John Talty over there at AL.com just posted a tweet. I haven't read the story. I can't wait to read it after the show's over. But here's a tweet of an exchange between Brian Harsin and Derek Mason in year one. Derek Mason told Brian Harsin in the middle of a dispute, "I've been a head coach in this league longer than you have." To which Harsin responded, "Oh, you mean at Vanderbilt?" Which I think is just classic. They're in the middle of a heated discussion in a line, and Derek Mason tries to flex by saying, "I was running the show at Vanderbilt where we lost 400 games in a row. I'm probably right here." You got to be kidding me, Derek Mason. Sit down.
Wait, but it's the last win. He's responsible for the last SEC win at Vanderbilt
He was
history.
built for this job? Oh, my God.
You gotta pound the table. You may need to get that tattooed somewhere, man.
If
The
I
last
was
SEC
the
win.
secondary coach or the offensive line coach or whoever was in there when that back and forth happened, I'd have gotten fired because I'd have laughed so hard. I'd have been sitting there. I mean, I'd probably choked on whatever beverage I had when Derek Mason said, "I've been a coach in this league longer than you," and he said, "Oh, at Vanderbilt? That didn't count, boss."
Yeah, you can
Come
see
on,
why
man.
that exodus happened pretty quick. You're taking shots at the doors, man. Their last win, man. Derek Mason, the big dog, man. Come on.
Oh, my goodness. That is a classic quote, and I think there's going to be more of that. I'm going to read this story on AL.com. It said, "Inside the end of Brian Harsin's Auburn tenure." And now, people, like I said, people are going to start talking now about stuff that happened, what was going on, because everybody's going to be looking for a job. That's going to be some interesting stuff. All right, let's get to our top 6 in the college football playoff rankings, our predictions for tonight's reveal. I'll go through mine to start. I think number 6 will be Clemson. Incidentally, there are 6 undefeated teams. I think those will be it. I don't think they're going to put a one-loss Alabama in front of these people. Alabama's biggest skin on the wall, beating A&M at home, going to Texas and winning. They don't really have any skin. So I think it'll be the undefeated teams, in my opinion. Clemson beat Syracuse by 6, beat Florida State by 6, beat NC State by 10, beat Wake by 6. They played a lot of one-score games. They've won them. I think they'll be 6th. TCU, I've got at 5. They have a really good resume. Oklahoma State and Kansas State are ranked in the top 15, and they've beaten both of them. So I do think, but I still think there's going to be a portion of the committee that goes, yeah, but I test TCU. We're not going to do that yet. The other teams have a little bit more proven track record outside of one of the teams I've got coming up, but I don't think they're going to move them out. I got Michigan at number 4. They're 8-0. They absolutely hammered Penn State 41-17. They've boat raced everybody else, but nobody else is any good. So I got Michigan at 4. I got Ohio State at 3. Really, the only test was Penn State. They won by 2 scores up there. They beat Notre Dame 21-10 in the opener. I don't think anybody cares about that one anymore. But I got Ohio State at 3. I've got Georgia at 2. Just whitewash number 8 Oregon. A little sleepy against Missouri. Everything else looks good, but I got Georgia at 2, and I think they're going to put Tennessee at number 1. Beat number 6 Alabama, beat Kentucky by 38 points, won at Pitt, beat Florida. I think that the eye test it pops, and it doesn't matter what they do here, especially with Tennessee and Georgia, because they're going to play each other. So It's really inconsequential what you do at this point, but just for the sake of the exercise, I believe they'll go Clemson 6, TCU 5, Michigan 4, Ohio State 3, Georgia 2, Tennessee 1.
Pretty close there. I went 6 TCU, obviously the undefeated record in the magical Big 12, just beating people's brains in, but got some ranked wins this season. So being undefeated to this point, I think you got to put TCU at 6. 5, I got Clemson. Just not very impressed with this Clemson team, not at all. But you got my man Dabo sprinting down the hill and just having a good old time and playing that sleepy ACC schedule. But if they do run the table, I think they'll find a spot because these teams are playing each other. The top 4 are going to play each other. So I think our top 4 are the same. I got Michigan at 4 as well. They did a lot better job, I think, against that Penn State team than Ohio State did. But, it's Michigan, so they're probably not going to get that natural love the Buckeyes are going to get. But
CJ Stroud bump.
Yeah, they're not going to get that bump. So I got Michigan at 4. 3, I do have Ohio State as well. I think going into the season, you thought, the Freeman-led, the Hangover remake-led, Fighting Irish, up at Notre Dame, lost our head coach. That was going to be a big-time win under their belt. It was not a big time win under their belt. So I got them at 3. And I think, the way they did play Penn State a lot through that game, I was not very impressed with how they were playing them. I said they got those turnovers late to kind of give them that surge, but that just wasn't, that dominating win that kind of Michigan had over them. And then 2 and 1, Georgia, Tennessee. I got Georgia at 2. To me, that Oregon win is going to look a lot better with what Oregon's been doing kind of throughout this season. And my man Bo Nix Manziel just having the time of his life and getting some Heisman, man. He's jumped on a lot of these Heisman, dark horse races. He's getting some odds there, and the job they did on him was absolutely incredible. And number 1, I got Tennessee. I've kind of, jumped on this hype train a few weeks back, breaking news, jumping on the hype train. But to me, they've just play that dominant brand of football that you want to see, especially playing against the ranked opponents they have and getting that big-time win over Alabama. And a lot of people saying, you got to watch out for Kentucky, man. Kentucky may go into Neyland and do something, and just absolutely dominated that football team. And so, I got TCU 6, Clemson 5, Michigan 4, Ohio State 3, Georgia 2, Tennessee 1.
Georgia, if they lose this game and win out, they need Oregon to look really good. Because that's going to be really their only skin on the wall at that point. Now, it's an impressive one. I mean, you absolutely embarrassed them in the opener. But then you got to wonder if Oregon, goes nuts and wins the Pac-12, do they get in? It's the conference championship angle. But really, I think on its surface, you need Georgia to you need Oregon to look really, really good. If Tennessee loses the game, with the win over Bama,
Alabama
starts to look a little bit better than maybe what Oregon's resume is. So, it's interesting to think about. But tonight's rankings pretty inconsequential. You got 6 unbeaten teams. I think those will be your top 6. And maybe if you think that Alabama going to number 1, and if you have Tennessee at number 1, and playing them to the end is worth to bumping them over Clemson. Maybe. I don't see it that way because they almost lost to A&M. But I think the top 6 teams will be the unbeaten 6, and I think that Tennessee will be number 1 and Georgia will be number 2. But we'll see, and we'll react to it coming up on tomorrow's show. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come back with Sharif Ishak from WDSU talking Saints and maybe a little bit of Pels as well. That's next on Hunt and Hill.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge with Hunt and Hill.
BayouFord.com is the website. Check them out at BayouFord.com. All the inventory is there. One of the things they're going to say right there on the front page is don't settle. Do not settle just because the car that you want is not on the lot. That's all right. They can customize a vehicle for you in 60 to 90 days.
Yeah, head over to BayouFord.com. They got a new special tab that updates daily. It's complete with a photo of the vehicle and the savings you can score, as well as a video profiling the vehicle and all of its features. Don't see anything you love? That's okay. Keep coming back because those deals will update on the site as Bayou Ford rolls them out. It's all right there at BayouFord.com.
Look, Explorer, Expedition, F-150, F-250, the Mustang, the Bronco, all those excellent vehicles they've got down there at Bayou Ford. And like I said, if they don't have exactly the one you want, meet your specifications from the details to the paint color to whatever bells and whistles you may want. Ben Gagne and the crew down there customize it for you and turn around it in 60 to 90 days. Every new car purchase at Bayou Ford comes with a 1,000,000-mile powertrain warranty. 1,000,000-mile powertrain warranty at Bayou Ford. Check out the website, BayouFord.com. Bayou Ford, they're going to do right by you.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off.
Me, Jimmy, out and Mike Delicano for the Tuesday edition of Game Time presented by Bet Rivers. We're at Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in the heart of Mid-City. Game Time presented by Bet Rivers, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Tuesday edition of Hunt and Hill, moving right along. Every Tuesday at 2:30, we chat with Sharif Ishak from WDSU. Sharif, the Saints are fixed.
Come on, man. They're not back, but they're better. I'll say that. They showed glimpses of what they could be, and the team that we kind of thought they could be before the season started.
What was different on defense?
I just think the time off and Alvin Kamara giving that speech in the locker room after they lost to the Cardinals might have created a fire and woke them up a bit. Maybe that's what they needed. They were very good up front. That's where it all started, defensive line. That's something that we have all been waiting to see all season is that, front four to get after the quarterback. And let me tell you, man, if you can hold Josh Jacobs, the third leading rusher in the NFL, to 43 yards, and affect Derek Carr like they did with the 4 sacks, I mean, that is just something that you could build off of moving forward. Devontae Adams, 1 catch for 3 yards. Alontae Taylor. That is just exactly what you needed from a beat-up secondary.
Did they talk after the game about anything that may have sparked them other than the Kamara speech, or did they revisit the Kamara speech after the game, or was it just another day at the office?
I just think that, with the whole Kamara thing, man, I think the swagger just seemed back. I mean, it felt like you saw the swagger in the locker room during the week getting ready for that game. The vibe was different to me than in the previous 7 games. It just seemed like all right, this seemed like the Saints team that I think we kind of expected. Everyone was happy in the locker room, loose, relaxed, having some fun, speaking the truth on how they weren't playing the right way. And I think that kind of opened up their eyes, this bad start. And I think they took it on the field and, shut somebody out. It's the NFL, man. It really is hard to shut a team out 24-0, especially a team that has the weapon that the Raiders have.
Obviously, a lot of Kamara trade rumors, but I think after that win, which I think helped, and obviously his performance in the game, I think that ship is sailed. You would agree?
I don't think they're ever going to trade him, even if they lost, because the division is so bad. They still have a chance to even, get into the race once they get very healthy. So I just never bought into them ever trading Alvin Kamara. Now, maybe if they really wanted to trade some of the other players on the team, they could have done that. But I just don't think they would have ever traded Alvin Kamara, because you have to think, what can you give for him if he does get suspended at some point in time, maybe later this season, if not this season, to start next season? You're not going to get a good return on Alvin Kamara, but you need to keep that asset on your team, and I think that's a smart move there.
I talked to Jeremy about this last week on Friday, and he said, look, players watch. They pay attention. They may downplay it in the media, but they're watching. And if you're a Saint and you turn on the TV on Thursday and the Bucs look terrible and they lose again, and all of a sudden you look and go, yeah, our record's terrible, but this whole division stinks. We can still do something. Do you think there's anything to that?
Yeah, they pay attention to it. I can assure you they 100% pay attention to it. And they're all honest about it when you ask them, hey, the division isn't good. They know, yeah, we know. We have a chance to win it. We know we can get back in it. And the one word that they keep bringing up, and even Tyrann Mathieu brought up this morning with T-Bob, is health. They got to get healthy. Once they get healthy, you'll see the full potential of the team. Now, easier said than done, because it's hard to get completely healthy in the NFL, and this team has proved it over the years. They've had a hard time staying healthy with key players. But, yeah, I mean, they know. They just got to get right. Once they can get right, they can play right. And they play right, there's a chance that they can just shoot up in this division, and they can do it over the next few weeks.
Did the Saints give up on Jameis Winston last week?
I just feel like they saw Andy Dalton doing what they need with this offense. They need somebody who could distribute the ball, make easy decisions, get the ball to the playmakers, don't force anything, like he did with Alvin Kamara. Look, they had those choice routes out of the backfield for the touchdowns. Yeah, it's exactly what you do. Get the ball in your playmaker's hands as easy and quick as possible. Don't force it down the field. You really don't see Andy Dalton do it that much. He did have one throw near the red zone that was kind of bad. That could have gotten picked off. But other than that, he really doesn't make many poor decisions. I know you want to go back to the Cardinals game. One wasn't his fault. The other two, yeah, those were bad. But that's what they want. They want someone who's going to avoid the disaster decisions, and that's what they got in Andy Dalton. Now, this offseason, they have to find someone, obviously, who's the long-term solution.
Anytime you go into a game without your best corner in Marshawn Lattimore, it could be a huge cause for concern. But I thought the play of Alontae Taylor has been, exceeding expectations. What do you think he's been for this Saints secondary this season?
He is very confident. When talking to him throughout the week and even after the game, he's confident in a good way. I mean, it's a little cocky confidence, but I think you need a little bit of that going against receivers in the NFL, because you know how cocky receivers are in the NFL. And he has that swagger and that edge about him. And, I mean, if you go look up his stats, they've been pretty good. I think he's only given up 5 catches in the 3 games he's played. And look at who he's played, Hopkins as well as Adams this past week. If it continues this way, they look like they're in good position to have, another lockdown corner in case something happens to, Marshawn Lattimore again. And they certainly need him back. I mean, to have him back will make things even better for that secondary. And they could use him back. But having the way Taylor played, moving forward, when you're going to go against some elite receivers, that's certainly a confidence builder, especially going the way he's done the last 2 weeks against those all-pro receivers.
All right, Sharif, we know that that Mariota had some success in the opener against the Saints. We know that Kyler had some success moving around. Lamar Jackson coming to town on Monday. Does that worry you a little bit?
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. Traditionally, the Saints have struggled. Jalen Hurts, like you said, Mariota, Kyler Murray. And the crazy thing is they've never beaten the Ravens at home, ever. That's just another crazy stat. They don't play often. I think they're 2-6 all time against the Ravens, both their wins in Baltimore. But yeah, They just got to find a way to figure out. They've lost a few games this year. Maybe they look at some of the tape and the defensive schemes that other teams drew up against them this year, maybe the past couple of years, because it's just a an Achilles heel for that Saints defense. They just cannot, for some reason, slow down those dual threat type quarterbacks. It is just a mental thing. They just don't know how to contain it. And maybe they will find a way this week. And you slow him down, the head of the snake, you have a chance to win. But once again, they have a very good defense. And will they be able to do the same thing with Alvin Kamara this week like they did last week? And having 43% of the touches and all those yards out of the backfield. I don't know. They have to find a way to continue, progressing with the offense. But if the defense plays close to that, yeah, they're going to have a chance to beat them this week and go on a nice run.
I think for the Saints to really come back and challenge for first place in the NFC South, it's going to have a lot to do with the quarterback play. How confident are you going to see in Andy Dalton, the version you saw against the Raiders, or do you think that version you saw against the Cardinals going to rear its ugly head again?
I think we're going to see a little bit more closer to what we saw in the Raiders game. I think they've simplified it a little bit, and like I said, you make sure you get the ball in your best playmaker's hands, and that's the smartest thing to do. And at some point in time, we think Jarvis and Mike will be back for this offense, and that makes things a little bit easier for him and for Alvin Kamara, so he doesn't have to necessarily almost half the touches and carry the load. And with no running back, Mark Ingram's now out for the next 3 or 4 weeks, but it's another trouble spot. I think that, he's only going to get better, and the way he played against the Raiders will probably be the way he tries to play the rest of the season.
I mean, what do you make of this Michael Thomas thing?
It's kind of frustrating, and there's no other way around it. I mean, he was on the sideline this past week. That was the first time I've seen him on the sideline since he's been out. Turf toes, not an easy thing to get over with. And it's like a 5-6 week process. Maybe he practices this week. Since the game's on a Monday, he has maybe a chance to play. Maybe. I mean, he has to get out there and practice. They're not going to play him unless he can fully practice. They don't want to have a major setback. But, yeah, they need him more than ever right now. Jarvis as well. I mean, if that's a bad ankle sprain, I don't know how much longer he's going to have to sit out. But they need him as well.
All right, Sharif, the Pels are sitting here at 4-2. They play.
What do they play tomorrow night?
They play a JV squad tomorrow night out in L.A. One of the worst teams in the league. What do you think?
Victor Wembanyama. That's all I'm thinking. Thanks a lot for the first overall pick.
You have any thoughts, Jeremy?
It's the Pelicans.
Look, man, we got my man Russ coming off the bench, fist pumping, yelling at the crowd, big time Russ coming off the bench, and we giving my man Darvin Ham H2O showers in the locker room. Got Goat James, got Anthony Day-to-Day Davis spraining his back just walking up the court. I think we're probably gonna get blown out by 20. Here we go, Lakers.
At least you finally bought into the losing, man. I'm proud of you. I am proud of you. No, but look, hey, you got to give Willie Green a lot of credit, man. He went a couple games without Zion. Maybe Brandon Ingram was back by Friday's game against the Warriors. The bench is deep. I still think that they're missing someone with length that can help them rebound and shoot a little bit. That would be another, a piece that maybe they can get before the deadline. But you got to like the way how, the second line is playing with Jose. Najee Marshall has been the biggest surprise for this team. He's certainly stepped up in the absence of Brandon Ingram. And if you can continue having him rolling until Ingram comes back, that only makes it even more dangerous whenever Ingram comes back. So they're playing, such good ball, such good ball. Point Zion is the thing that could scare defenses.
He's a handful. You give the Tigers any chance inside Tiger Stadium on Saturday?
Of course, man. The way they've been playing, dual threat quarterbacks seem to be an issue for Nick Saban's team this year. So, yeah, was it 13.5?
Yeah.
I think they could cover that. I think they could cover that.
All right, we shall see. We'll talk next week, Sharif. Thanks.
All right, guys.
Sharif Ishak, WDSU. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Excited to see pro hockey coming back to the Raising Cane's River Center this winter. Tickets start at just $10 for games at Ticketmaster.com and the Raising Cane's River Center box office. Keep listening for your chance to win some from us and sign up to win at 1045ESPN.com. Speaking of winning, Jimmy Russell of Prairieville, congratulations to you. Jimmy's our Week 9 winner in the 2022 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em Contest. He wins $50 at Twin Peaks. Don't forget to make your picks for Week 10 by 5 o'clock on Thursday. Play the 2022 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em today at 1045ESPN.com. We'll come back and close down shop on a Tuesday. It's Hunt and Hill.
This is Hunt and Hill on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. Professional golfers John Peterson and JJ Colleen answer all your golf and life questions inside the new Drop Biscuit Studios podcast for the people. Download or subscribe today at dropbiscuit.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt and Hill. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
We get it done with strength, commitment, dedication, grit.
We get it done with passion for our fans
and love for our community.
We are the Tigers.
Get it done.
Let the values of the purple and gold be in your starting lineup this season. And as always, get it done.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. Only available at the Acura Summer of Performance.
This summer, visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the MDX.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
Light beer shouldn't taste like water. Miller Lite has more taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time.
On Wednesdays, Off the Bench, another day closer to the ultimate battle in Death Valley. Saturday night, LSU-Bama. And the Pellies get ready to smash the Lakers. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 1045 ESPN.
This is Hunt and Hill on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, closing up shop here on a Tuesday edition of Hunt and Hill. We do it every day. Let's do a little take it or leave it.
Alrighty here. There were some blockbuster trades that went down before the NFL trade deadline with the likes of Roquan Smith, TJ Hawkinson, Chase Claypool, Bradley Chubb, and other notable players finding new homes. Are you taking or leaving? With 5 minutes left to the deadline, the Saints will make a move.
I'm going to leave it. I don't think there's anything for them to do. They're in a spot where they really need to hold. They have massive contracts that aren't going to be moved anywhere, and they don't have any draft capital to go get anybody. So it just doesn't make any sense for the Saints to do anything. I think the Saints team is capable of winning the South. Would I put a bunch of money on it? I would not, but I think they're going to sit right where they are. A lot was being said on the Plains after the departure of Brian Harsin. One tweet said he was the worst football coach in the history of Auburn, and Klesi Crochet, who was an assistant to Brian Harsin at Auburn, liked the tweet. Brian Harsin, worst coach in the history of Auburn. Take it or leave it.
Well, this made me do a little deeper digging, and I don't want to, crucify my man Harsin. There's going to be a lot of rocks thrown at that glass house right now. So you have to go back to 1948 to find a coach with a worse win percentage than Brian Harsin, and that's the immortal Earl Brown, who went 3-22 during his senior.
Earl, you got to spread the field, buddy. You got to spread the field. Get some guys in space.
Earl the Pearl. So he's the second worst coach in Auburn history. So I guess, you got to give a round of applause for my man Harsin. Just,
right, he almost beat Bama.
Yeah, almost beat Bama. Just bad times. And I just can't wait. Give it about 5, maybe 6 years. That immortal 30 for 30 is going to come out on this Auburn team. Get out my boy Derek Mason. Just that great Vanderbilt conversation.
I'm going back and reading that John Talty article when we get off the air. I got to see what was said in that thing.
Just bad times for the Plains, man, and that kind of worried me. Go down 17-0 to that football team, man. That loss would just look so bad.
That would not look good.
But you lose a 17-0 to a team that had 5 passing yards in the second half. Yeah, your job's probably going to be.
I got blasted on Twitter when LSU went down 17-0. I was like, thankfully Auburn's not any good, so this is manageable. And everybody was like, oh, no! I started screaming. I was like, they're terrible. I promise they're not good. I didn't know we were going to come back and win, and I didn't know how good we were at the time. Probably still don't. But that doesn't change the fact that Auburn stinks. Let's not lose the plot here.
Yeah, that's just absolutely terrible. So, yeah, it's bad times in the plane. Who knows where they're going to go with the next head coach? Got my man Cadillac. Always cool to see the running back getting some love. My boy Cadillac Williams getting some love there. But things are only going to get worse this year. So, yeah, go Tigers or Eagles. I don't know what they are. So, whatever. All right, here we go. The Chicago White Sox, they hired former Kansas City Royal assistant Pedro Grifol as their next manager, who had 10 years of tenure with Kansas City. Are you taking or leaving the White Sox? They're going to make more noise than the Cubbies next season.
False. We'll leave it all day, every day. The White Sox are little brother. They will always be little brother. They try to take their shots, but the fact of the matter is no one cares about the White Sox. No one wants to go to their games. No one wants to watch them. It's a disaster. The Cubs are Chicago's team, and if you pull for the White Sox, you just pull for the wrong team. So we're going to go spend some money this offseason. We're going to put a real product on the field next year, and we'll run the city like we're supposed to. You had your chance when you built this whole thing up, and then the Cubs disintegrated, and you still couldn't get it done, and now everything looks like it's falling apart around you. Nice hire on Tony La Russa, by the way. That worked out really well. He fell asleep during one of the games. Okay. After a 2-5 start to the season, the Brooklyn Nets decided, you're out, Steve Nash. He gone. The Nets are going to make the playoffs this year. Take it or leave it.
Look, everyone's wondering why I got the KD jersey on.
You
KD, I just like seeing a 7-foot Slim Reaper with a hedgy pull-up from 35. Like, who doesn't like to see that? But it looks like a burning building in Brooklyn right now. Got Kyrie just saying whatever the heck he wants, just trying to just separate the entire franchise. Got my man Ben Simmons airballing layups. Never thought I'd see that in my lifetime.
Head out to the intramural games at LSU. See if you airballed layups.
Yeah, that's an NBA player getting $30+ million a season at 6'10".
Plus a college kid drinking $30+ million beers a year. It's not the same.
About evens out a little bit there, but it's going to be a tough time for the Nets this year. I don't see it, especially when they put Ben back in the lineup. So I guess I'll leave this. I don't think the Nets are making any noise. It's just a dumpster fire. Honestly, KD was trying to get off for a reason. It looked like he had the right foresight because that's a dumpster fire.
Go back 5 years and have somebody tell you that one team's going to get Ben Simmons, who at that time was just a hot shot, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and they would be terrible. And the other team would have LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Russell Westbrook, and they would be terrible. changes your perspective a little bit.
Yeah. That's so you talk about people being in comas, waking up like, what's going on? Oh, there's just soup. No, they're bad. There's no super team. Bad teams. That's what they are.
I want to remind you, professional golfers, John Peterson, JJ Colleen, answer all your golf and life questions inside the new Drop Biscuit Studio podcast for the people. Download or subscribe today at dropbiscuit.com. That'll do it for us today here on a Tuesday edition of Hunt and Hill. Opened up the show talking about LSU and Alabama, specifically Eli Ricks and him kind of becoming part of this Alabama defense. A recruiting check-in at 1:15. Things really trending the positive way for LSU over the next week or so. We talked about that at 1:15. Glenn West of Go 247 at 1:30, and we made fun of the Bengals offensive line back there at 1:45. Tony Soucalis covers Alabama, and he was with us at the top of hour number 2 for a few minutes, gave our playoff picks as well. And Sharif Ishak, WDSU, talking Saints and Pels at 2:30. If you missed any of it, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. It is all there wherever you find your audio. You can find us. We'd appreciate it if you'd like, subscribe, rate, review, throw us a thumbs up. All means a lot to us. If you're looking for something to do tonight, Plucker Sports Trivia, 8:30, watching the World Series, watching Maction, watching some basketball. Lots on at Pluckers, and we're going to have a lot of fun winning some gift cards, having some cold drinks, and some good food. 8:30, Pluckers on Nicholson. Looking forward to it very much. Jimmy Ott's Game Time's coming at you 6 to 8 tonight. Matt Moscone about to drive you home on After Further. You have a great Tuesday. Hope to see you out at Pluckers. If not, we'll see you back here at 1 o'clock tomorrow on Hunt and Hill.
Follow us on Twitter at